So yeah, the whole experience of the G20 Summit began actually last October when the Alternative Summit Alliance came together to organize the Global Solidarity Summit, which was taking place on July 5th and 6th, so last week, just before the actual G20 Summit. And this process went on for some months and really got us going, really creating collective experience, collective excitement about what is going to happen. Over 70 organizations were involved in the process, and many people from all over the world actually came to speak at the summit and to create an alternative agenda. Like the whole of global civil society was coming together there. In the meantime, of course, the city authorities were very eager to create some kind of atmosphere of fear, was my impression. We had all over the news, like the worries and risks that were told us by city authorities, by our mayor, our senator of the interior, speaking about left-wing terrorism, left-wing violence, and all this crazy stuff, as if the protests were just this, and really systematically trying to criminalize the protest, trying to create the image that the protests are unjust and irrational and without content in a way, which they were definitely not. The majority and the very beauty of the protests were really how many people peacefully came together from all over the place and showing up alternatives, But this is what happened before, right? This discursive militarization of the city already months before, creating this atmosphere of fear and trying to prevent people from protesting, right? And then there was the hindering of the demo as well, not giving us the space that we need for having our closing rally, so that we had to sue the Senate to give us the place that we need for 100,000 protesters, right? So we had the whole judicial problems as well. And then the Senate created like a democracy-free zone, which is an area in the city center of 38 square kilometers where the freedom of assembly was suspended, on top, hindering the big demo on July 8th. And then they organized another demo on the very same date, on the 8th of July, to split the protest. So there was really like a systematic prevention or systematic try to prevent the protest. And then on Sunday last week, the first activists were coming to take their place at the campsites. Also the camps were tried to be repressed by city authorities, and then we had also a whole judicial process with that, and was taken to the German Constitutional Court, which actually said that the camps are just and are a form of protest, and so we should have that. And the city should provide a space for the protesters to sleep and to gather. What we saw last Sunday was that against this this claim of the German Constitutional Court, the police actually repressed the camps as well. They were, in the middle of the night, they were crashing into the camps, spraying tear gas at the people who were sleeping and getting them out of their tents, beating them with their batons. And so this was the first signal of what escalation is really looked for. However, the counterculture was very well organized. They were like people decentral. There was a real decentral organization. Then people were taking meadows of churches, to create little camps. They were camping at the outskirts of Hamburg, and there was this construction team that was coming there to have big infrastructure, like toilets and and cooking places and stuff like that to build in the central camp. But because the camp was dispersed, they were just traveling around the city and building like little infrastructures for every camp, which was very beautiful to see how organized the conflict house actually is. And so yeah, this was the good mood, right? It was just in the air. There was a certain vibe to it. The whole city was electrified, if you will. And so on Wednesday and Thursday we had the Alternative Summit, over 2,000 people coming there and really working out, discussing an alternative agenda to what the G20 actually do, which was a very nice experience to have all the people coming together, different cultures from all over the world, different generations, young people, old people, working class people, intellectual people, just everyone was there. It was very, very good. And on Friday we had the DiEM event, Constructive Disobedience. We tried to work out a certain concept of how to disobey in the actual system of surveillance capitalism that we live in. We wanted to have a Q&A with Sören Altstaedt. She was planned to be there to have a live stream to talk to us. We arranged everything. We're in contact with WikiLeaks already 1 week before to set it up, to prepare it. And then during the event somehow an alarm was triggered, saying something like, there are technical problems, please all leave the room, and loud siren, so everybody had to leave. It was really loud. When I talked to the security personnel who worked in the building, they said that no alarm was physically triggered, so the source is still unknown. Anyway, we had we continued the event outside. There was just a meadow outside of the building at the university campus, and so we just continued to have our event, which was very nice in the end. To be outside, sun was setting, people sitting everywhere on the campus listening to the speakers and the panels. Unfortunately, we couldn't have Sören Altstaedt there, however, I think it was a great success. And speaking of surveillance capitalism, what we saw basically in Hamburg is completely crazy, right? How total surveillance is actually possible if the establishment really thinks it is necessary. We had like 20,000 police, women and men in the streets operating, repressing, as I said, camps and protests everywhere, really brutally going on against protesters, peaceful protesters, like crazy. They had predator drones deployed that were circling in the sky above our heads, right? There were robots, military robots deployed by U.S. Secret Services crawling through the sewers and subway tunnels. It was complete surveillance, which is a quite scary thing to experience in front of this, because somehow we all know it is happening, that there is a possibility, but to really experience it physically, to see the military helicopters in the sky, like watching you when you have your demonstrations and your gatherings, and just seeing police at every street corner of the streets, and I literally mean every street corner of the streets, police in full riot gear. It's completely crazy. So yeah, and that was also the case, of course, at the big demo yesterday, the Borderless Solidarity demo, which was in fact a very, very nice and vivid and beautiful counter event as well. Around 80,000 people were there peacefully demonstrating, to the very contrary of what the Senate tried to depict before, right? It was a very, very beautiful protest, no violence there, except in the end, when at the closing rally, some people just wanted to have a rest at the park beside the rally place, and police were actually trying to jail them just for having a rest in the park, and other protesters came and said, what do you think you're doing? And immediately there was tear gas deployed And so more and more protesters were shouting, "Get out of here!" to the police, and then the water cannons came in, you know, and then again was violence happening, but again was deriving from the police, right? Throughout the G20 events, there was the violence caused by police, my impression. But nonetheless, although the media coverage really focused on the escalation and on the brutality of what the G20 Summit brought to the city, there was, I think the counterculture was very, very vivid. We worked out a concrete alternative agenda with many different decentralized events, and really showed that there is another world possible if we have the political will, and that's the beauty of the last days that I witnessed, no matter what happened.